In September 2025, a 28-year-old woman was reported missing in Vallejo, California. An investigation into her disappearance would lead detectives to a concealed attic entrance and the discovery of disturbing evidence. This is the story of Renia Lewis and Douglas Irwin Shaw, a case that would expose critical failures, test a groundbreaking alert system, and devastate a family who did everything right. Renia Lewis was 28 years old and lived in Berkeley, California. The youngest daughter of Terry Lewis of Stockton, she worked as a brand ambassador for Her One Stop and radiated the kind of energy that drew people close. Her family described her as vibrant and family-oriented, someone who loved cooking elaborate meals and took pride in keeping things clean. Those who knew her best noted she was meticulous about her surroundings, a detail that would later become haunting evidence. Lewis would have celebrated her 29th birthday on October 7, 2025, just days after her body was discovered. She maintained close connections with extended family throughout the Bay Area. Her cousin LaToya Lewis, Aunt Linda Lewis, Uncle Emmett Lewis, and best friend Savion McNary remained in constant contact. Any gap in communication, even for a single day, was immediately recognized as wrong. The family used the Life 360 tracking application, a modern safety measure that allows loved ones to monitor each other's locations. It was this technology that would provide the crucial breadcrumb trail in the investigation. Berkeley served as home, but Lewis traveled regularly to Vallejo, a city about 30 miles northeast of San Francisco. These visits were routine, part of maintaining the network of friends and families scattered across the region. Her mother worked in Stockton, roughly 50 miles from both cities, creating a geographic triangle of connection. Because of this tight-knit network, Lewis's whereabouts were generally known. Any prolonged silence triggered immediate alarm. On September 26, 2025, at approximately 10 p.m., Lewis was last seen near the intersection of 14th Street and Star Avenue in Vallejo. She would never leave that area alive. Douglas Irwin Shaw was 41 years old and worked as a mechanic at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo. He lived on Pomona Avenue but subleased a detached shed unit behind a main house on 14th Street near Star Avenue, the same location where Lewis was last seen. The main house had been boarded up for an extended period. Neighbors described the entire property as neglected and chaotic, with constant foot traffic and an appearance they compared to an abandoned junkyard. Shaw's specific unit was described by investigators and family members as squalid and filthy, conditions that, given Lewis's known preference for cleanliness, made it implausible she would have entered willingly. This discrepancy would later weigh heavily on the family's understanding of what happened that night. Public records revealed troubling patterns. In 2023, a former girlfriend who had worked with Shaw at Six Flags obtained a restraining order against him. Both she and her father described Shaw as a narcissist who refused to accept fault in any dispute. The specifics of what prompted the restraining order were never made public, but the order remained active at the time of Lewis's disappearance. According to Lewis's family, she and Shaw had no established relationship before a recent meeting. They had no connection to Shaw, the 14th Street property, or anyone who lived there. How Lewis and Shaw came into contact remains unclear. What is known is this. On the evening of September 26, 2025, Lewis's phone location was tracked to Shaw's residence on 14th Street. Terry Lewis texted her daughter on Friday, September 26th, but received no response. At first, she assumed Renia had activated Do Not Disturb, a setting her daughter frequently used when sleeping. By Saturday, concern deepened. Lewis's best friend, Savion McNary, reported she hadn't heard from her in 2 days, highly unusual given their regular communication. On Sunday, September 28th, Terry Lewis checked the Life 360 app. The location marker showed her daughter's phone near 14th Street in Vallejo, an address the family didn't recognize. Terry called out of work and made the drive from Stockton to Vallejo immediately. When she arrived at the address indicated by the tracking data, she found a property that appeared neglected and possibly inhabited by squatters. No one answered when she knocked. The family launched their own search of the surrounding area. During this effort, relatives made a chilling discovery. Renia Lewis's phone sitting on the roof of a nearby school. The phone's location, combined with days of silence, prompted the family to report her missing to the Vallejo Police Department on September 28, 2025. The next day, September 29th, the California Highway Patrol activated an Ebony Alert for Lewis, a statewide notification system designed to locate missing Black individuals between ages 12 and 25. Information about her disappearance spread across electronic highway signs, television, radio, and social media platforms. The Federal Bureau of Investigation joined the investigation that same day, providing expert resources to local authorities based on the suspicious circumstances and unexplained nature of her disappearance. News spread rapidly through social media. Family members posted flyers throughout Vallejo with Terry Lewis's contact information, desperately seeking any leads. But the flyers attracted something cruel. Callers using out-of-state phone numbers began contacting Terry, claiming to be Renia. They lured her to false addresses. Some demanded money. The prank calls continued, even as the investigation intensified, adding psychological torture to an already unbearable situation. Meanwhile, Vallejo Police Department officers had begun their investigation. On September 28th, the same day the missing person report was filed, patrol officers went to the 14th Street residence identified by the Life 360 data. They entered the property to conduct a welfare check and performed what was later described in official statements as a cursory search. The search included all rooms, closets, and places where a person could potentially hide. Officers found no signs of Lewis. The property consisted of a boarded-up main house and the separate detached shed where Shaw lived. During that first search, officers did not discover the concealed entry to the attic space within the shed. It simply wasn't visible during a standard visual inspection. Based on the lack of findings and escalating concern for Lewis's safety, the Ebony Alert was activated on September 29th. Over the next day, detectives obtained new investigative information, warranting a more thorough examination of the property. On September 30th, they secured a search warrant and returned to the residence with authorization to conduct an exhaustive examination of all structures. During this second comprehensive search of the detached shed, investigators discovered something the first search had missed: a concealed entry into the attic. The entry had been covered with sheetrock, making it nearly impossible to detect during a cursory examination. Vallejo Police Department Sergeant Rashad Hollis would later describe the concealed area as deliberately hidden, stating officers would likely miss it without specifically searching for such modifications. Family members were told the entry had been obscured behind what amounted to a secret wall. Inside the attic space, officers located the remains of a deceased female, later identified as Renia Lewis. According to statements from Terry Lewis, police informed the family that investigators believed her daughter was killed shortly after being brought to Shaw's residence on September 26th. The mother also stated that police told her Shaw had dismembered her daughter's body and concealed the remains behind the wall in the attic. Sergeant Hollis declined to confirm specific details about the cause of death, stating only that the investigation involved a heinous and heartbreaking crime. Shaw was arrested that afternoon, September 30th, at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Following his arrest, Shaw allegedly provided a statement to detectives admitting responsibility for Lewis's death. According to family members who spoke with investigators, Shaw confessed to killing Lewis and admitted to throwing her phone onto the school roof, explaining the bizarre location where family members had found it during their search. Shaw was booked into Solano County Jail on suspicion of murder and held without bail. Police Chief Jason Ta released a statement describing the case as a heartbreaking, senseless act of violence. Lewis's death marked the 14th homicide in Vallejo for 2025. On October 2, 2025, the Solano County District Attorney's Office filed formal charges. One count of murder with 2 special allegations for personal use of a deadly weapon, specifically a knife. Chief Deputy District Attorney Mary Nguyen, assisted by Deputy District Attorney Joseph Miller, would represent the prosecution. Deputy Public Defender Kirby Madden represented Shaw. Shaw appeared for arraignment in Solano County Superior Court shortly after charges were filed. During the proceeding, Madden entered a not guilty plea on his client's behalf. The plea was met with audible gasps from several dozen friends and relatives of Lewis who had packed the courtroom. Outside afterward, family members expressed shock and confusion. Investigators had publicly announced that Shaw confessed to killing Lewis. How could he now plead not guilty? Judge Jeffrey C. Kaufman presided over subsequent proceedings. On November 18th, Shaw appeared for a status hearing and was ordered to return for a preliminary hearing setting scheduled for 8:30 a.m. on January 5, 2026 in Department 23 at the Justice Center in Fairfield. Shaw remained in custody throughout, bail denied. The murder charge carried potential enhancements based on the alleged use of a knife. These enhancements, if proven, would significantly affect sentencing in the event of conviction. But the impact of Lewis's death extended far beyond courtroom procedures. Terry Lewis, who had driven from Stockton on September 28th, searching for her daughter, collapsed when detectives delivered the news that her body had been found. The family had been planning to celebrate Renia's 29th birthday on October 7th, just 1 week after the discovery. Community members in Vallejo responded with vigils near the 14th Street property. Residents brought candles and flowers to honor Lewis's memory. Brooke Ashley Hayes, a Vallejo resident who didn't know Lewis personally but had friends who did, said the case had shaken the entire community. The small city nature of Vallejo meant nearly everyone felt connected to the tragedy. Lewis's family established a GoFundMe campaign to assist with expenses. Co-workers from Her One Stop joined family and friends in mourning. LaToya Lewis described being in disbelief, saying she never imagined she would be posting missing person flyers for her own cousin. The case drew attention to broader issues: violence against Black women and the effectiveness of newly implemented alert systems designed to address systemic disparities in missing person investigations. The Ebony Alert, activated for Lewis, represented California's first-in-the-nation system, specifically designed for missing Black individuals. Senate Bill 673, authored by State Senator Stephen Bradford and signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom, established the program effective January 1, 2024. The system applies to missing Black youth between ages 12 and 25 who disappear under unexplained or suspicious circumstances. The legislation addressed documented disparities. According to the National Crime Information Center, Black individuals accounted for approximately 39% of missing children in 2022, despite comprising only 13% of the U.S. population. The Ebony Alert operates similarly to Amber Alerts for abducted children and Silver Alerts for missing seniors. When activated by the California Highway Patrol, information disseminates through electronic highway signs, television, radio, and social media. In Lewis's case, the alert mobilized FBI resources and increased public awareness. Yet questions remain about what more could have been done and what must be done differently going forward. How did Lewis and Shaw meet? What circumstances led her to that 14th Street residence on September 26? What happened in the hours between her last confirmed sighting and her death? The motive behind Shaw's alleged actions has not been publicly clarified. These answers may only emerge during trial proceedings, beginning with the preliminary hearing in January 2026. But perhaps the most haunting question is this: what if the first search had been more thorough? What if the concealed attic had been discovered on September 28th instead of September 30? Would it have changed anything? The family will live with these questions forever. The case has highlighted systemic concerns about violence against Black women and the challenges in addressing such cases effectively. The Ebony Alert's role in mobilizing resources represents meaningful progress in addressing documented disparities. Yet Lewis's death underscores a painful reality. Alert systems, tracking apps, and vigilant families cannot prevent every tragedy. They can only help us respond, sometimes too late. The community response, vigils, calls for justice, demands for change, reflects ongoing concerns about safety and accountability. Renia Lewis should be planning her 30th birthday right now. She should be cooking meals for her family, calling her best friend, checking in on the Life 360 app her mother watches so carefully. Instead, her name joins a growing list of Black women whose disappearances and deaths demand our sustained attention, our systemic reform, and our refusal to look away. The preliminary hearing is scheduled for January 5th, 2026. The family waits for answers. The community waits for justice. And across California, other families continue to use Life 360, continue to worry when calls go unreturned, continue to hope they'll never need an Ebony Alert of their own. What are your thoughts on this case and the broader implications for community safety and alert system effectiveness? Share your perspectives in the comments below. If you found this documentary informative, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more in-depth explorations of often overlooked, lesser-known stories. Who else would you like to see us detail next? Your engagement helps us continue to shed light on otherwise unheard narratives.